Hey guys, how's it going? It's Friday night in the shop. I have a lot of hats, friends. I'm a hat guy, hats and belt buckles and shoes. But I have a lot of hats, and I always buy them every time I'm at a logging show or anywhere, friends. Motorcycle hats, trucks, Buckin' Billy Ray hat. I really like this one. How's it going, Buckin'? Good to yak with you today, buddy. Friends, I was reflective today about just my friends and the people I've met through YouTube. And I've met some really, really good people through this. And just thank you, all my friends out there. You guys, it's fun to compare our journeys, even though we're on different parts of this earth. Really appreciate you guys. And that's kind of segueing to what we're doing today. I'm going to answer your emails. I haven't done this in a while, and I enjoy it, friends. It's really nice to hear from you guys. I have met so many people through email that ended up becoming my friends. I've met you guys in person, whether it be at Buckenstock or through other travels. I went to Houston one time on business and met a good buddy there, my buddy Caleb. He runs a tree service. Just thank you guys. And for the rest of you, if you want to send me an email, whether it be to drop a line, just to say, hey, I get a lot of that, or to ask me a question. If you're having a problem with a saw, reach out to me. If I can help you out, I will. If I don't know, friends, well, I can ask somebody else that's smarter than me, because we all know there's a lot of people out there smarter than this guy. And, for whatever reason, if you want to drop me a line, my email is on my About page. And I try and get in there daily. I've been a little lax lately, friends. I have been sick, so I'm just kind of I spent a whole day in bed, which I hate, because after that, I feel like I've wasted a day. I'm like that, friends. But, so yeah, if you want to drop me a line or ask a question, or sometimes people have a part that I need, or whatever you guys are looking for, my email is on my About page. Check it out. Today's video, I'm going to answer some of your guys' questions. I haven't been in the emails in a while, so I figured least I could do is personally ask some of your questions. I'm just going to go in and grab a random 3 from the last couple of weeks. And if you don't hear from me, give it a week or so, friends. If you don't hear back from me, feel free to bump your email. Just send an email that says bump, and likely I'll see it on the second go. Okay, I'm going to break here. I'm going to grab an email, and let's answer one of your questions. Okay, I went through the emails. A fella named Rick, sounds like he's from Ontario. How's it going, Rick? Rick emailed me about a week ago. He described issues with his 266. So I'm in 266 mode. I'm staring at a workbench full of them, and I like my 266s, so it seems like a fitting email to answer. Rick has had a 266 for years. He bought it from a dealership, probably from their junk pile by the sounds of it. It was a low hour, good running saw. He said he used to use it to cut apple wood, and one day it shut off and he couldn't get it started again. And he let it sit for years and years, and he pulled it out off the shelf and he wanted to get it running again. I guess my content inspired him to have a look at it, which is always cool. To me, if you can rebuild or reuse something, it's way better than buying something new. As you can see, there's like no new saws on my shelf. I own very few newer saws, but anyhow, so he said he went into fixing it and he pulled the top end off and it was scored. Okay. And sounds like he scored it up. So he bought a top end off Amazon, put it on, fired the saw up, it ran good for a while. And then it sounds like it wouldn't run again. And then it became hard to pull over. He said, sounds like he went on a forum or Facebook, somewhere, one of those places. And those can often be good places to find information, friends. Some of those guys on forums, they live and breathe this, and they share information freely. And forums can be a really good place to find information, part numbers. So I think he went in the right direction. Anyways, so he couldn't figure out what was wrong with the saw. And he said the crankshaft had no up and down play, but it had side to side play. Okay, so mark all this down. He blew the saw up. He put a new Amazon top end. It then wouldn't run again. But he said it felt like it was hard to pull over. So let's go through these things one by one. He split the saw. He put it back together. He put new bearings in it. It sounds like he had a heck of a time getting them in. He froze the crank and put the bearings on, and he had a hard time getting them into the pockets, etc., etc. I'm going to go over all these issues one by one. So first off, 266s haven't been made since the late 80s. So in most cases, like late 80s. I started seeing 268s, which is the model that replaced the 66, starting in 1987. Now, you will get 266s up to the late 80s to early 90s. I think the Yugo ones, we were discussing that on an earlier video, can be early 90s. So these saws are really old. And they have a lot of rubber parts. They have an intake block. So likely, I'm going to say this, friends, every power saw that has ever been blown up, okay, it's for two reasons. Yeah, okay, straight gassing, but we're going to get rid of straight gassing because you usually know when you've done that. I've never had a guy say, oh, I blew this up because I mixed it 50-1 instead of 25-1 or whatever. I've never experienced that. Oil mix ratios, use a good oil and mix it at 50-1 generally, and you will never, ever blow up a saw. I know, highly contested subject. But, so anyways, he went over the saw and he bought an Amazon top end. Now, I'm going to say this, and it sounds like he bought no-name knockoff bearings. Now, I'm going to say this, I have bought my fair share of no-name white box chainsaw parts. And here's what I'm going to tell you. It is a crapshoot. 80% of them, I would say, are going to have a blemish. Something's going to be wrong. Or you'll put it on and they fail right away. Those no-name aftermarket cylinders are often, they are a band-aid. They usually have bad plating, soft rings, soft pistons. I find, yeah, occasional use. If you're going to use a saw once a year, you may get use out of it. But honestly, the reason why I promote the quality aftermarket stuff, like from Wolf Creek, there are other places to get it, but Wolf Creek, that's my guy. So, the Highway and Meteor, they are cheaper than OEM, and more often than not, you can't get OEM parts for these saws. So, first off, Rick, I wouldn't have gone with the aftermarket cylinder because often those don't run good. But whatever. To each their own, right? Number two, the crankshaft. Well, let's have a look. Well, here's an OEM crank. Okay, no up and down play. Does it have side to side play? You betcha. Okay, it rocks on its axis. Here's another one. No up and down play. Okay, here's another one. Up and down play. Nope. Side to side, all kinds. Here's another one. Up and down, 0. Side to side, yeah. Okay, well, there's a sample size of 4. These are all OEM used cranks, so there you go. Okay, so that solves your question about crankshafts. Now, he said he put new bearings in it, and it sounds like he smoked the bearings. So, I'm going to say this, Rick. Aftermarket no-name bearings are a crapshoot. Sometimes you'll get good ones, but you're better off to buy FAG, SKF, Nachi. Any of those are the ones you want to buy. 6202, they are cheap. You might spend $10 to $25 on a quality set of crank bearings. You're in Ontario. If you don't want to order and pay shipping, go to any bearing house, Motion Canada, or whoever is your local bearing supplier. I think BC Bearings out there in Ontario. Go in there and say, I need a 6202C3, and they will give you a quality bearing. It'll be FAG, SKF, Nachi, one of those. Okay? Buy those and put them in. Now, your bearings failed right away. Let's assume that the bearings were good. Well, building a bottom end is an art and a science, okay? I do them all the time on the channel. If you go into my 266 or 200 series playlist, Rick, you will see bottom ends being assembled. Sometimes they go very smooth. Sometimes it is a bit of a struggle. The key is to be slow and methodical and heat that case up real good. And then let it cool down and use a brass hammer to hit the crankshaft in either direction until it gets smooth. I suspect you did not get rid of the side load on the bearings, and that's probably why you had a failure, Rick. So basically, do it again. The only way to learn to do this stuff is to do it again and again and again and again. I've been doing this for years. I do crankshafts and bearings all the time. I can literally do them blindfolded. When I started, it was hard. So anyhow, Rick, happy rebuilding. Hopefully this helps you out, and don't beat yourself up. This stuff is not easy at the beginning for anybody. You learn things as you go. Chainsaws are fickle creatures, and hopefully you can figure it out. Make sure you do crank bearings and seals, and make sure the saw is sealed up. If it doesn't start in 5 to 7 pulls from brand new, you usually have an air leak. That's been my experience. Anyhow, let's go to the next question. Another email from Paul. Paul's been watching my videos, and he said, thank you for taking the time to explain to everybody what's going on. And Paul, this channel's for guys like you. You know, it's funny, friends. I don't do this, but sometimes you'll get, you know, an old crusty porter in here, and it happens a lot. And those are the guys that are like, why are you showing that? Everybody knows that, you know, or only a fool would show that. And it's like, well, this is just entertainment. And it's like, I'm showing people how to do things so that they can do it for themselves. I'm not showing people how to, you know, replace crank bearings because I'm showing off. I'm showing it so that you guys could do it yourselves, because most shops will not do crank bearings anymore. None of the ones around here that I know of. They'll take that beautiful 266 and throw it in the junk pile, and then you can buy it and rebuild it yourself, and then you have a 266. So Paul, he had some more entry-level questions, and that's what I love. Starting your porting journey is the most exciting time. Paul asked a couple of things. One, what is MotoSeal? Well, Paul, MotoSeal is a engine assembly silicone. It is fuel. It's impervious to fuel, and it's for gluing cases together. And that's what I use in all my chainsaw builds. It's a Permatex product. I have no affiliation with them, although I've used about 643 tubes of that now. I've probably used, in all the saws I've built, 5 tubes of that maybe. And usually it starts to get a little gummy at about, you know, this much down, and I just throw it out and open another one. But yeah, that's what Permatex is. Permatex MotoSeal, and it's, I don't know where you are, Paul, but it's available everywhere here in Canada and the United States. I don't know if you can get it in Europe but if you can't get it there, any of your Yamabond, Honda Bond, any of that stuff, I think most of the assembly silicones are the same. They're all the same color. They feel the same to me. Some are a little thicker or thinner, but more or less they're the same. So if you can't get one, go to your local motorcycle dealership and ask them to buy whatever they use. Number 2, he has a 346 XP. Would port work help that? 100%. Port work enhances what the factory left on the table. Any saw, if you port it properly, will be an amazing saw. The key is porting properly. And that's where less is more. What I've learned in this journey of building saws is less is more. Whatever engine you mess with, you're going to learn. Everybody starts off going for maximum power, and then after a while you go, how much power can I make reliably? And that's the journey for me. I don't build race saws. I'm not super interested in that. I'm interested in building the strongest saw I can that will last. And if it lasts, that's why, friends, a lot of my saws, they disappear because I send them to somebody, or I'll give saws to somebody that works professionally, and I go, cut with this. Just take it and run it, and, beat on it, work it, put fuel through it, finish that last cut with a dull chain on a hot day. I want to know these things because I want to know how long they last. That's the interest for me. But reliable power is the game for me. So yeah, 346, that's a screamer. You can make that go fast. It's even like my Harley friends. You know, I've posted videos and a few guys that they know they can hear it. They're like, geez, that thing's pretty jacked up. And it is. I didn't build the motor. I don't know. I think it has like 630 cams in it. It sounds like a 630. It's a high lift cam. You can tell by how lumpy it is. This thing's too lumpy at idle for a carbureted or for a fuel injected motor. If it was carbureted motors idle a little different. This thing's really lumpy and it's fuel injected, which tells me it's got a lot of cam in it. So, and high compression, but it's reliable, friends. I rode it all summer and I never put a wrench on it. I still have a small oil leak at one of my base gaskets, but it's not enough that it bothers me. So I've just been living with it. I don't even think I'm going to address it this winter because it's reliable horsepower. So when I'll run that motor till it's ragged, and then when I do it again, it's probably going to be I'll probably put a 124 in there or something like that. Just a big nasty motor. But anyhow, friends, so there you go, Paul. Thanks for sending an email, and happy porting, buddy. If you have any more questions, hit me up. Okay, I got another one from Josh. Josh just finished watching my "This is the easiest porting you'll ever do" video. That video's done pretty well. Quite a few views. I don't know where it's at view-wise, but it's up there. You know, it's probably got 50,000 or so. It's funny, friends. You never know. I don't think I have a video. I have shorts with 1 million views, but I don't think I have a 1 million view video yet. I better go and check, friends. Hold on. I know it's funny to some people, but I don't really pay attention to that stuff. Let's see. Give me a second. Well, that was fun. I could go into my channel and hit content and, view so many views, like more than 50,000 or 100,000. That was fun, actually, to go back. Some of the videos are newer. Some of the videos are older. I have a video with like 500,000 views on it. That's not bad. One of my cutaways. But yeah, I have one called "This is the easiest porting you'll ever do," and it has 65,000 views on it right now. So it's chugging along pretty good. And anyways, I got an email about that, and he said that he watched that video and he goes, "That's interesting. I have an 036, or my buddy has an 036 that he would like to port, that he would like to have ported." He says, "I'm just starting porting, and would you recommend that porting on an 036? Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I've never ported an 036, but I do have one. I have a pristine one. It's hanging up over there. It's on the roster, friends. I hope I live to be 163, because the amount of saws that I have bought over the years that I'm like, I'm going to do this one and that one. But I have an 036 here. It is pristine. I am going to port it on the channel one day. I don't know when. Probably sooner than later. I'd like to do a 60cc class build. But honestly, that porting I showed on the 026 should work just fine on an 036. Less is more. Do not overdo your intake timing. Measure your total opening, okay? Steels, do not go too high on them. They get lazy in a hurry. Trust me, I've done it. Or go far. If you're willing to throw parts at it, go as far as you want. But if you're trying to get it on the first go, measure the timing on the saw. You have to have a timing wheel to port. That is one thing I'm a stickler for. Do not port without a timing wheel. Because if you build a good saw, you'll never recreate it. You'll never know what you did, or you'll never know why it runs. But really, this is not a game of numbers. When I started, friends, I thought it was all about timing numbers. It's all about the port timing. And you got to do this and that. And what I've learned is that that port timing is this much. Everything else is this much. Okay. Some of the nastiest saws I've built on this channel, and you guys have seen them, have the most laid-back port timing numbers. That 2101 that Justin Sizemore has, that port timing is not aggressive on that saw. And well, if you've seen the bucket stock videos, that thing was murdering like 3.5 foot hardwood in Indiana there. You know, the good stuff, the eastern hardwood. So again, it makes me rethink my theories on porting because the further I go on this, the more I pull back and the less work I'm actually doing. It's cool to pull out a cylinder and it's all, ground out, but less is more. So when you put a wheel on your saw, Josh, on your buddy's saw there, and see where it started. Okay? 60cc saw, do not raise the exhaust roof too high. If that thing's at 104 or 102 stock, I would widen it a little bit. I would leave it at 102. I would not change that. I would not mess with the blowdown. I would not mess with the upper transfers to start. There's power to be had in upper transfer work, but it is not necessary. It is not. Okay? Yes, to get that last little bit of performance, of course, you have to go 100%, but it is not necessary. I would make sure that the lower transfers flow and the intake timing, do not add too much intake timing. It's all about where you're starting. Okay? If your saw starts at total open to close is 100, and if that 036 is 146 degrees total opening, maybe put it at 150 and try it like that. Don't go 146 to 156. It might be lazy, okay? And that's it. Tickle it in there a little bit, port it, and put it back together. Less is more. But anyways, Josh, I have an 036. I will be porting it at some point. So if you want to wait, I have one here. On to the next one. Let's end with this one, friends. This one's from Dan. How's it going, Dan? Dan sent me some pictures of some of his saws. And he's working on a saw right now, and he's not sure. It's a little bit of a mixed master build, and I will comment on that. But Dan has a Steel 046, which is built with Farmertech cases, and it has a highway big bore and a highway crank. And Dan's saying when you put it all together, it's free porting, meaning the bottom of the piston skirt on the exhaust is at top dead center is open. Which means your bottom end, right? Your bottom end can go into the exhaust port. Okay. He wanted to know, is that okay? Should I work with this? Is there a problem with the parts? Is there a problem with something I'm doing? So I will say I built that 441 and just a month ago. I built that 441 and the piston was a little ragged on the bottom, so I cleaned it up. And what I ended up doing when I cleaned up the piston is I created a situation where it was free porting. That saw's M-Tronic, so I thought, well, I'm going to see if this M-Tronic will clean it up. My biggest problem with that saw is it's too rich at idle. And I think, I'm 98% sure it's too rich at idle because it's free porting. And when you free port, you end up with some of the bottom end mixture in the exhaust port. And then... right? And then when the piston goes down and opens, you may, down and up, it may scavenge, right? These two strokes scavenge out of the muffler. Well, if you're filling the muffler with unburnt fuel and air, and when it scavenges, that makes the mixture richer, which means you're scavenging more unburnt fuel, air, from the exhaust stroke. So that's what free porting is. Some saws will run free porting, some will not. The question is there a problem? Well, I have had big bores that free port. I don't have any experience with the 046 big bore kits from Highway. You may have just got one that is weird, but I will say this. If you're using aftermarket cases, it's a crapshoot. You may have a case that the crank center line is higher or lower, okay? Or forward or backwards. Crank center line is very important. If that bearing pocket moves back, forward, up, or down, it changes the characteristics of the stroke. And you may end up free porting. Or you may end up tapping the piston. Or you may end up with loose squish. Or you may end up with wonky intake timing. Also, the deck height on those cases. If that deck height is too low, at the top of the stroke, you may be free porting, okay? I don't think it'll necessarily be that. It's usually if the deck height's too low, you may hit the top of your piston, or you usually will, right? Because there's two ways you get around that. Put a base gasket in it. You didn't say whether there was one or not, but you could put a base gasket in it, and usually a base gasket will raise it up enough that it's not free porting, but then you may end up with loose squish. So you got to play that one by ear. But when you end up free porting, you either got to find a longer piston or get a new cylinder. Or put the saw together and run it. Because at the end of the day, if the top end's no good and you got to replace it, well, it's nothing to break down on 046 or 460. Those saws are pretty easy to work on for a steel. They're not as easy as a Husqvarna, but still, guys, I'm just horsing around. We all know steels are the easiest to work on. Husky guys, do you think they heard me? Do you think they know I'm messing around? Who knows? Anyway, I'm just horsing around, guys. Steels are harder to work on. They just are. But, so anyway, Dan, hope that helps you out. For the rest of you guys, thanks for watching. Take her easy. And I'll see you guys in a couple days. Hoping to get multiple benches set up. I think we're going to start rolling that 064. In conjunction, we're going to build the bottom end for my 266, 288 project. Yeah, I'll discuss this in another video. I've been having problems with the cylinder on that 266, 268. That's the holdup, friends. And it became glaringly obvious how I'm going to fix my problem. We'll talk about that in another video. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'll see you in a couple days. Later.